Welcome to this UpGoWise Masterclass. Today, we're diving into a genuinely structural approach to success with an explainer of high-performance habits. Right off the bat, high-performance habits doesn't start with some shallow demand for more hustle. Nope. High-performance habits makes a much harder claim. It says your ceiling isn't your talent, your ceiling is your structure. The author, Brendon Burchard, calls that structure high performance. And look, what Brendon Burchard does in this book isn't about selling you on raw, unfiltered ambition. Instead, he maps out the exact habits you need to keep success from turning into self-harm. So let's explore those hidden costs in high-performance habits, shall we?
Your calendar is full, your chest is tight. I really want you to just sit with that present reality for a second. If you're an exhausted high achiever, your work probably looks incredibly sharp from far away, right? You still answer fast, you still hit the mark, but up close, well, there's a serious physical toll. You're hitting every single target, but your success is honestly starting to feel like bad engineering. It's a beautifully clean calendar, but a body that literally flinches when the next ask arrives.
To understand exactly why this happens, we have to look at the core architectural metaphor of this explainer, the load path. In architecture, a load path is simply how strain moves through a structure. Now, think of your life as a polished steel beam. A habit isn't automatically proof of your strength. A habit is really just a load path. It's a mechanism that either successfully spreads stress out or dangerously hides a hairline crack deep inside that steel beam.
Which brings us to a bit of a reality slap. What if your strongest habits are actually making your strain harder to see? The real danger of high competence is that it makes warning signs sound, well, kind of rude. Because you're so capable, the crack stays completely hidden. Success makes your strain look noble. But actually, scratch that. This book doesn't offer a polite little list of life hacks. It demands a rigorous stress test of the self.
Section 1. Force in the wrong place. Let's look at misaligned structure. We usually think that if we're failing under pressure, we just lack willpower, right? We just need more force. But the reality is that high performance is rarely failed by a lack of force. It's failed by force applied in the absolute wrong place. Pushing harder on a misaligned structure just breaks it faster. And that beautifully sets up the core framework of this book, the 6 structural joints: clarity, energy, necessity, productivity, influence, and courage. Now, I want you to reframe how you look at these. These are not 6 extra tasks to just stack on top of your already busy day. No way. They're load-bearing joints that keep you intact. Clarity sets the span. Energy keeps the material sound. Necessity locks the load. Productivity removes false weight. Influence joins your structure to others. And courage? Courage holds the whole shebang together when the praise leaves. Let's compare how this changes our approach, starting with energy. The old model basically says you work until you're completely depleted, and energy is just repair after the fact, like a Band-Aid. But this book argues something entirely different. Energy is a habit before the task. Why? Because the mental and physical state you bring into the room completely shapes what the work actually costs you. A high performer builds energy before the pressure even arrives, so the structure doesn't fatigue in the first place.
Now, you might have a voice in your head right now saying, I wish this weren't true, but I already know performance is a habit stack. My only issue is maintaining discipline under the load. Well, I need to break that internal voice right now. A weak habit turns effort into friction. A strong habit turns friction into shape. The hard truth is, discipline without design just bends the wrong beam. If you don't design your habits as a clear load path, your own discipline will just quietly break you.
Section 2. Alignment under strain. Let's talk about the power of repeated alignment.
You see, high performance isn't about sustaining some frantic peak state 24/7. It's about repeated alignment when the real weight comes down. Let's look at the joint of necessity to really understand this. So many of us operate on borrowed pressure. That's demand driven by shame, panic, or rivalry. But necessity, true structural necessity, is owned pressure. That is driven by service and identity. It's the chosen load you absolutely refuse to drop. So the crucial question here is pretty simple. Who is the work for? I want you to interrogate your true demand right now. This question cuts straight through all that fake urgency. Because if no one is truly served by what you're doing, the load you're carrying might literally just be vanity. But if someone you serve truly needs you awake and present, then your courage actually has an honest reason.
The crack is the teacher. Think back to that steel beam for a second. In this book, there's this classic example of the high-powered executive,
You know the type. Crushing it at the office, working 14-hour days, hitting every single metric, but coming home completely hollowed out with absolutely nothing left for their family. That utter exhaustion, it isn't failure of discipline. It's the crack. And the crack isn't a failure you need to be ashamed of. It's an honest reporter. It tells the truth about the load. It points to the exact place where your design and your demands completely disagree. The crack shows you exactly where the repair has to start.
And this brilliant insight follows directly from that. The habit that saves you is often the one that exposes you. In Burchard's philosophy, the self isn't found in ease, not at all. The self is forged right where a promise meets weight. And what this means is that habit work is completely indistinguishable from identity work. The best habit doesn't just make you feel in control, it makes the truth really hard to avoid. Section 3. The Moral Screen of Productivity. Finding True Productivity.
In this book, productivity is absolutely not a volume metric. It's a moral screen. It separates true progress from what we might call polished avoidance. Doing busy work perfectly just so you don't have to do the brave work. There's a stark difference between proving capacity and building capacity. Proving capacity feels safe. You answer every single email, you take on every task, but it just trains people to ignore your limits until you snap. Building capacity, on the other hand, means you're reliable without being owned. You remove the false weight early so the structure can actually endure.
So ask yourself this: what work truly earns your best hours? Take a second and really sit with that. Is your high competence just acting as a clever cover for fear? What work gives you proof of busyness but absolutely zero real progress?
The answer lies in establishing clean demand. Look, I have a bit of an intimate confession here. Many high performers aren't actually overworked. They're simply underled by their own clarity. They lack clean demand. Clean demand has sharp edges. It says yes with a clear reason, and it says no without a speech.
Section 4. An honest load path. Balancing design and demand.
Remember that tight chest you felt at the start of this masterclass? That was the real clue all along. The body knew the structure was failing long before the mind even named it. And the required repair from this book is not to suddenly go live a softer, consequence-free life. No, the repair is building an honest load path. This perfectly connects those joints of influence and courage. People do not need your flawless surface. They need a structure they can trust. You don't build influence by acting unbreakable or constantly hiding your strain. Trust is built when your strain meets honest design. It's when you name the standard before the room agrees and you hold the load properly.
I really want to reiterate this core structural rule. Energy is built before pressure. You absolutely must build your state before the demand arrives. Do not wait until you feel depleted. So we're going to execute a strict architectural repair on your very next work block based on this exact principle.
Here is the final strict protocol for immediate execution. Before tomorrow, choose one work block and mark it Start, Stop, and Recovery. If not, you've chosen this. Set a timer for exactly 300 cents. Close every single tab, breathe low, and write the next decisive sentence. Without it, your signature fades.
So if your ceiling isn't your talent but your structure, what load are you carrying today that you were never designed to hold? It's time to step into your UpGoWise Masterclass and find out. Access your personal growth map at upgowise.com.